So you've probably seen people do playthroughs of Pokemon, but they're only allowed to use gift Pokemon, or they're not allowed to catch Pokemon. I wanted to try this too, but with a little bit of a twist. I do enjoy me some twisties. G'day everyone, it's the Snow Phoenix here, back again for another video, and today we'll be attempting to beat Pokemon SoulSilver with only gift Pokemon, but all of the gift Pokemon will be randomized. That's right, we'll have no idea what will be coming, and therefore no real way to strategize for later game battles. There are 10 possible encounters, but obviously we won't know what we're going to get until we get them. In case that wasn't hard enough, I'll also be playing this challenge as a Nuzlocke. I have played a few on the channel before, but if you aren't familiar or you're new to the channel, the main thing is that once a Pokemon faints, it is considered dead and can no longer be used. I'll also list the rules in the description below. Let's dive in! I start out by using the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to make all gift Pokemon random, and now it's time to pick our starters. This is going to really set the tone for the run, and it's the only time we actually get any kind of say in what we're going to get. I walk up to the machine and we see our options are Granbull, Glameow, and Curlier. It's pretty hard to pick in terms of coverage without knowing what we have coming, but I do think that Psychic is a safe bet, so we pick Curlier and name it Wolfie. The naming theme of the run is going to be a bit of a shout out to some of our regular crew from our live streams. We're a careful nature, with synchronizes our ability. I did actually freak out for a minute thinking that we might only have teleport, but luckily we are set, we've got confusion. After running some errands, we get stopped by this rude thing on our way back to the lab, and he challenges us to a battle. But it only takes a few confusions to easily handle him and his Totodile. On that note, to make this a little bit more consistent, I'll be keeping everything else in the game the same. All the trainers, wild Pokemon, items, everything like that is going to be what it's supposed to be, but only the static Pokemon are randomized. So that gives us some hope that we can actually beat the run at least. Back at the lab, and the cops are snooping around trying to pin this thing on us. But we know who the real enemy is here. Ours. Boy oh boy do we need watch hours. But also, isn't time just the biggest enemy of us all? We get given Pokeballs, so our Nuzlocke has officially begun. Not that we'll be using them to catch anything, but you know what I mean. We make our way to Violet City, where we get our next few team members. Nearly half of the encounters through the run are actually going to be coming from here. I'm usually more of a bacon and hash brown kind of guy, but today I'm craving some eggs. There's a man inside the Pokemon Center that will give us up to 3 eggs if you input the correct phrases. So usually these are Mareep, Wooper, and a Slugma. But instead, we got a Goldeen that we named Isaac, a Skorupi named Cass, and a Sunkern named Becca. Not the best, not terrible, at least a little bit of diversity in the typing. I decide to challenge Faulkner. His Pidgeotto is level 13, so I get Curlier up to 16 to give us a little bit of a buffer and hopefully be successful. We one-shot his Pidgey with a crit confusion, and then the threat comes out. We manage to confuse it with our first attack to put us in a good position. There's a lot of back and forth with roosts, but eventually we confuse it for a second time, allowing us to take it down and claim our first badge of the run. This now gives us access straight away to our next encounter. It's the egg that you get from Professor Elm. Usually this is a Togepi, so hopefully we don't get something as bad as that, but we'll see. After a bunch more running around Violet City, the egg hatches, and it's a Scizor. We name it Sam. We're actually starting to show signs of a team here. After going through the cave and Slowpoke well, we get some much needed experience on our fresh little hatchlings before taking on the gym. So Bugsy's here bragging about being the best with bugs, so we're going to use our own bug to prove who's really the best around here. He leads Scyther, so Scizor is the obvious choice. It does take a while with a berry and potion and stalling, but a few bullet punches are enough to take it down. The rest of the team isn't much of a threat, so Goldeen finishes them both off with some pecks. Kakuna does put up a little bit of a fight poisoning us, but it's not enough. And that's badge number 2. There's no rest for the wicked though, as we jump straight into a rival battle. He's added some members to his team to make things a little bit more interesting this time. I lead Curlier to counter either of his 2 poison types, and it ends up being the Ghastly. We one-shot it with confusion. Zubat is next, and luckily it misses Supersonic, so it too easily goes down to confusion. I decide to switch to Sunkern for Croconaw and start with Leech Seed and Mega Drain combo. Unfortunately he gets back-to-back flinches, so we have to switch out. Scizor tanks a bite and finishes it off with a quick attack. After a chase that seemed rather far-fetched, we make it to Goldenrod. This is home of our next encounter. Normally this guard gives you Kenya the Spearow, but today Kenya is a Lucario. This is awesome. We definitely aren't going to be giving this back. With that, Whitney just got a whole lot less stressful. So I decided to head straight to the gym to take her on. This goes even easier than I was expecting. Lucario OHKOs the Clefairy with a Force Palm and does big damage to Miltank before she attracts. Fortunately though, Lucario can't be swayed by the feminine charms of the cow, and breaks through to take down the renowned Nuzlocke killer and claim our third badge. After Whitney has a little bit of a whinge anyway. We rush to Ecruteak just so we can come straight back to Goldenrod to get our next encounter. Bill normally gives the player an Eevee here, but for us it ends up being a Hariyama that I named Sandman. Now mate, I know that it's not Munchlax or Snorlax, but Mokuhita and Hariyama are basically the fighting type equivalents. Okay, so I thought it was perfect. Back in Ecruteak, we have another rival battle, and this one proves to be fatal. We get lucky to start with Curlier barely not OHKOing his Ghastly, but the Quick Claw activates so we don't get cursed. His Zubat meets the same fate, again missing Supersonic, allowing Curlier to finish it. Next is Croconaw, so I go to Sunkern again. Unfortunately, this thing now knows Ice Fang, and rips our little Sunkern from us with one quick chomp. Can't mourn the fallen right now though. Lucario comes out to extract revenge and one-shot his Magnemite as well. Our first death of the run. Farewell Becca the Sunkern. Time for Morty and the Ghost Gym. The strat here is to utilise Curlier, but also Scizor due to Curlier's weakness to ghost moves, and Morty does have Shadow Ball. Everything is going smoothly until he lands a Hypnosis on Curlier. I tried for an early wake up but then had to switch. The AI immediately goes for a curse, so we have to switch again for the Gengar. I decide to go for Skorupi to get some chip damage with Bite and then bring Scizor back out, but the plan backfires when Gengar locks us in with Mean Look and Skorupi goes down. Scizor takes out the Gengar and then only a Super Potion stands between us and finishing off the Haunter for our 4th badge. I think if the Gengar didn't get the special defense drop, we might have actually made it through without any casualties, but it is what it is. We now move on to deal with the Lighthouse, and eventually get to Cyanwood City for the medicine, the 5th gym, but most importantly, our next encounter. You would normally get a Shuckle here to take care of, but we end up with a Charmeleon that we named Genesis. I'm pretty confident about the 5th gym. Our starter is a Gardevoir, and we have extra sensory on Scizor as a backup to deal with the fighting types. The trainers are a piece of cake. Cake. Now it's time for Chuck. We lead Gardevoir, obviously. Confusion just doesn't kill, so I predict the heal and get up a free Calm Mind. We one-shot it from there to knock out the Primate. Poliwrath is a bit more frustrating though, landing Hypnosis. We are asleep for what feels like forever, and we do get taken down to the yellow, but wake up for a nice knockout. Badge 5 acquired. It's a short turnaround for the 6th gym, with Jasmine and her Steel types in waiting. Our newly acquired Charmeleon is ready to shine. After some definitely not addicting Voltorb flip, I didn't spend hours playing that game, I managed to get some TM stocked up. One of those being Flamethrower, so I immediately taught that to Genesis. We enter the gym and our new Fire-type Lizard takes care of the Magnemites, and we switch to Seeking for Steelix. All she manages to do is set up Sandstorm before we take her down for the 6th badge. After witnessing a cold-blooded murder from Lance and his Dragonite, it's time for the 7th gym.
There has been a murder!
We slid around for a bit, and now we can take on Old Man Price. Sandman gets the lead here and handles it very well, taking down his Seal with a couple of Force Palms. I switch to Scizor for the Dugong, but it is a tedious battle with Rest, Hyper Potion, and it was only helped by the fact that his Sleep Talk going for Rest whilst asleep. We got a bit lucky there, otherwise it could have really dragged on. Finally was Piloswine, so Isaac the Seeking gets its shot at glory once more. A couple of surfs were all it took to finish it off and claim the penultimate badge of the run. After dealing with Team Rocket for the final time, we made our way through Ice Path to reach the last gym in Blackthorn. Claire possesses one of the most fearsome types in the game, Dragons. Fortunately though, she only has Dragonair for us to deal with, which, when you think about it, is just a poor man Shenron. Her lead is Gyarados, so we lead Hariyama and go with the Belly Drum strat. I got very worried when we were left on 8 HP, but a clutch Quick Claw allows us to knock it out. The first Dragonair comes out, so I switch to Seeking. We get hit with Thunder Wave straight away, leading us to be full parried twice, and we lived on 1 HP to break through and beat it. The second Dragonair uses T-Wave as well, but Gardevoir Synchronized gets it back. But that's about all it actually manages to do for us. We have to switch to Genesis, and despite some more paralysis, some slashes and a flamethrower get it into the red before we again have to switch. But Claire also switches to Kingdra as we go to Lucario. We go for a Swords Dance as we take huge damage from Hydro Pump. Another hit, and we are finished. We get some nice luck though as she misses 2 Hydro Pumps in a row, allowing us to knock it out. Sam then finishes off the crumbs of the final Dragonair to win us the 8th and final badge of the run. Well, not just yet. Turns out Johto is filled with some sore loser gym leaders and we have to go through the Dragon Trials just to get the badge, even though we beat her. But anyway, that's fine. Luckily, this also gives us another encounter though. If we can answer the questions correctly, of course. We do answer the questions correctly, but I forgot we also had to go beat the Kimono Girls and get the Legendary encounter and yeah, deal with all that, just to finally get this Dratini. The Dratini actually isn't too different. It's still a snakish, eel-type creature, being a Milotic. We name it BHM, and it does have extreme speed, so we got the questions perfectly right. Now it's time for the final encounter of the run. Deep inside of Mount Mortar is the Karate King, that after you beat him, we can acquire usually a Tyrogue. We get a Manectric that we name Swoomeril. This is a huge encounter for the league. Now for the final rival battle in Victory Road. Sam easily takes care of Sneasel, and Gardevoir survives 2 crunches on 1 HP to beat Feraligatr. Seeking lands an Ice Beam on Golbat, but he thinks he is slick and switches to Magneton, but it backfires, or back freezes in this case, as it gets frozen, allowing us to switch and easily take it out with Lucario. Kadabra is next, so Scizor takes it out. It's then back to Golbat and we finish it off to see the end of our rival once and for all. After some grinding and some team tweaking, it's now time to take on the Elite Four. I've decided to get to level 45, which will be under Lance, but hopefully it all balances out. Will is our first opponent, so we lead Manectric as it is super effective against half its team. We one-shot his Xatu and then Jinx comes out, so we switch to Charizard. We do take a hit, but then we OHKO it with a Flamethrower. Slowbro is next, so it's back to Manectric, and we barely don't one-shot it as it heals. So we go for a bite to avoid another heal, and then Thunderbolt finishes it off. His last Xatu is no match and it meets the same fate as the first. That's 1 down. The freshly promoted gym leader Koga is next, and Charizard gets the lead in this one and uses it well, one-shotting Ariados. His big brain move switches to Quad Weak to us Fortress, so that ends pretty quickly. Muck is next, so Gardevoir gets a run here. With some healing, it does take a few hits, but it goes down as well. Crobat hits hard with a wing attack, so we have to switch back to Charizard to finish the job. Just like Bon Jovi, we're halfway there. The big bruising Bruno and his fighting types are up, so Gardevoir opens the batting. We just barely don't one-shot it, so I take the opportunity to set up a Calm Mind to hopefully sweep. It all goes to plan, aside from Hitmonlee getting in a Blaze Kick and a Burn, but that's not enough to stop the red-hot Gardevoir. The Dark-type specialist Karen is up, and she definitely looks like she wants to speak to our manager. So it's time for Lucario to step up. A close combat doesn't quite get an OHKO. We're just not having much luck with these, are we? As Umbreon goes for a double team. I know she's going to heal, but that's why Lucario is our lead, because we've got Aura Sphere, which never misses. It just takes 2 of them to get it done. Her ace Houndoom, unsurprisingly, is next, so we switch to Milotic. After a Surf, she switches to Vileplume. 2 can play at that game, so we go out to Charizard. She does get a para, but we push through and land the knockout Flamethrower. Then Milotic gets its opportunity to finally finish the Houndoom. Gengar is next, and Gardevoir comes out. I did forget we only had 1 Psychic left, so we go for a Calm Mind to ensure that we make our last one count. Which we do, one-shotting the Gengar. Her last Mon is a Murkrow, so Manectric easily takes it out. The Elite Four are no more. Wow, I'm like a poet. And I didn't even know it. The final challenge now awaits. After teaching some TMs, it's time to take on Dragon Trainer Lance. Now, we need to be careful because we literally saw this guy murder someone, so we better be on our toes. His lead is the ultimate glow-up story of Gyarados. So that means we lead Manectric and go for a quad super effective Thunderbolt to easily get rid of the Flying Fish. The first of the 3 Dragonites comes out, so we switch to Milotic for some Ice Beam action. We take a big Outrage, but manage to finish it off. The second is out, and our Quick Claw pops.
That's good.
But it lives on what must be 1 HP.
That's bad.
But he misses Thunder.
That's good.
We go for another as he uses a full restore. We then use extreme speed to hopefully get it in kill range of an Ice Beam. The Quick Claw pops again, allowing us to knock it out. The third comes out and misses Dragon Rush, and we get another Near Oko. I do try for the same strat as the last with E-Speed, but he lands the Dragon Rush to finally bring the heroic one of Milotic to an end. We go to Charizard for Dragon Pulse, but unfortunately get fully paralyzed as he lands consecutive Dragon Rushes to take us down. We send out Scizor and land some Bullet Punches as his accuracy luck has come to an end, and that's the last of the actual dragons. Manectric takes care of the Charizard with a couple Thunderbolts, but takes some damage in the process. That does unfortunately mean that we got outsped and couldn't survive a Rock Slide from Aerodactyl. Lucario is our next soldier, and I went for a risky Swords Dance as an Aerial Ace does more than half of our HP. Is this it? Is the run over? Nope, because he foolishly goes for a Thunder Fang, leaving us with 3 HP, and we one-shot it with Close Combat to win us the battle and the run. That was a really fun run. We got some pretty cool encounters and some Pokemon that I'd never really used before, which is always good to play around with some different strategies and just to experience some different Pokemon. We had some good luck, some bad luck, but overall a really enjoyable playthrough. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. What did you guys think of that run? It was something that was a little bit different and a lot of time got put into it. So if you did enjoy it and you made it this far, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel for more challenges like this in the future. I'm planning to do these pre-recorded runs a bit more regularly, but if you want to see some other challenges, I do streams on the channel as well, and we'd love to see you there. Just pop in and say that this video sent you. Once again, everyone, thank you so much for watching, whether you watched for 5 minutes, 5 seconds, the whole thing. Either way, we appreciate your support as we continue to build the channel and hopefully add some more entertaining and exciting content. Until next time, everyone. See ya!